What's up, everybody? This is IBS Yeezus coming at you guys live with our first episode of the full count for the 2016 MLB season. I want to apologize for my appearance. I work two jobs and I'm in school, so hopefully, when I do these weekly shows, next time I'll be cleanly shaven and a little bit more presentable. But tonight, it's not really about that. We just kind of want to get our feet wet with the whole video casting and stuff. And I usually have a co-host, Brian Malone. A lot of you guys see him in and out of some of our baseball posts, basketball posts. Real knowledgeable guy, and I'm going to get him in to talk baseball as well. I'm hoping to get some more people from the group to talk about baseball. I'm working through Twitter. I might even try to get some players on occasionally. But as you can probably believe, baseball players, they play 162 games. They're pretty busy. But I might be able to get maybe a Squirrels player or somebody, double A, triple A, to jump on a podcast and talk to us a little bit about the game. In the meantime, what I want to talk to you guys about today is just the introduction to the season. I mean, the season started last week. A lot of teams are only about 6-7 games into the season, so you can't really take too much from such a small sample size. As most of you know, baseball it's a long season. Like I said, it's 162 games, so whatever we might see today might not be here tomorrow in regards to performances, as well as just some teams at the top, some teams at the bottom. To give you an example of that, last year at this time, everybody was just getting started, but like the Nationals were considered a favorite to win the NL East. I think a lot of people had, I think a lot of people had the Mariners to make the playoffs and stuff like that. And there was like a little bit of mumbling of maybe the Royals getting back. Some people had the Indians winning that division. I think I might have been one of those people, which unfortunately I was wrong, because as I showed in the group as well, throughout the season, because it's such a long season, things change, and unless you follow it every day, you don't realize how gradual the change is. But I obviously follow it all the time, and it's just one of my favorite sports. So what I would like for people to get from this show, or my goal for creating this show, was to keep people informed, give you my opinion, share the thoughts of IBS members with the rest of the world. As obviously you know, social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, we're able to reach different people from around the world just to give them a taste of what we like about baseball or sports in general. So again, full count is just my thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be particularly baseball every time I get on here. But I would love for people to, if you got ideas for shows, like Ronnie says, we're more than a sports group. So if you got ideas on shows in general, shoot them out. Let's see if we can get people going, get the ball rolling on our YouTube channel. But what I took from the first week of baseball action, I've been preaching this all off season. In a lot of threads, you might see me stomping for what I call the youth movement. I hashtag youth movement. Hashtag is pretty much trending on my account. I put it in pretty much everything I post about baseball, and I'm a big proponent of the young people in the game, because to me the game is growing athletically. It might not be growing as financially as increasing as the NFL or the NBA. It might not be as popular in households as UFC and stuff like that, but the game to me is getting better. I think the baseball product that's put out on the field day in and day out as a whole is a lot better, and it's mostly because of the athletes. There are some things that I wish the game still had to make it better, but in regards to what I see from players in the field, pitchers, the managers, even the sabermetrics and statistics analysis, all those things that incorporate into baseball to make baseball, I honestly believe that it's a better product than what we have seen in the past. And that's not to say that I don't respect the baseball throughout the years. We all know some of the household names, the greats. I definitely appreciate what they've brought to the game, and I think that these guys coming in now are more than capable of carrying the torch and making baseball a better game than what it was before, what people think that it is. So some of the guys I personally like to watch actually started out hot. One of them is Carlos Correa, shortstop for the Houston Astros. Just a stud. I think he's about 21, 22 maybe, but he's a stud. And the series he had against the Yankees in the first 3 games, I believe he was 6 for 10. He had 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, 2 stolen bases. I mean, when you look at his stat line, you're just blown because the guy does pretty much everything that he possibly can, batting out of the 3 spot for the Houston Astros. And the Houston Astros are a team that actually come into this season with higher expectations than what they're used to. I know a lot of people forget that the Houston Astros used to be a really good team back when they had Roger Clemens and Andy Pettitte and those guys. I think Jeff Bagwell was a part of that group. They just were synonymous with collapsing, unfortunately, come postseason. I think one of the more memorable moments in MLB postseason history is what I call the fall of Brad Lidge. I think it was a key game in St. Louis, and Brad Lidge was one of the best closers in baseball, almost indestructible. And he came in against Albert Pujols, and Albert Pujols hit a home run that's just, to this day, probably still hasn't landed. And it just took the air out of Houston. And they kind of had some years where they were just bottom barrel. And then they moved to the American League, and they got a DH, and Nolan Ryan came over to advise from the Texas Rangers, and they're back. They're back. They're one of the more young teams, one of the more athletic teams, and they don't hit the ball necessarily a lot in regards to batting averages, but when they do hit the ball, they score runs. They hit a lot of home runs. And so the Blue Jays set, I think, a record last year for most runs and most home runs, but the Astros were right behind them. And they've transitioned from just a small market team on the rise to what some people believe are contenders. So Carlos Correa, the shortstop for that team, headlines that youth movement with that team. And I believe that they do have a chance to contend. But that division is going to be tough. The AL West is shaping up to be really tough. So Astros opened with the Yankees. Yankees did really well offensively. They pitched pretty well, too, considering not a lot of people know what to expect out of that rotation. Tanaka came in and gave them some really solid outings, and I think with Tanaka and the Yankees, people just kind of holding their breath, hoping he doesn't get hurt. But he did really well. The bullpen was really shaky, though, and that was one of the stronger points coming into this season for the New York Yankees. Now, they're missing Aroldis Chapman. He got in trouble for a domestic dispute. I think he's missing the first 50 games. But even with Chapman out, it wasn't supposed to necessarily start out so rocky. And I know a lot of people are like, well, it's just the first couple games, and it is. But when you have something that you consider a strength for your team, you don't necessarily want them to be out, messing up this early. So they gave up some late inning runs to the Astros, but the Astros, like I said, they're a strong hitting team as far as home runs. And when it came time to be clutch, the bats came through. But in the end, the Yankees, I think their experience overall kind of guided them through that series. I think they had a really good game, game 2 against McHughes of the Houston Astros. I think his ERA is like 135 right now, which I don't even know how that's possible, even with a bad outing. Usually in the first week, you see guys with like a 27 ERA or something like that, but 135 is pretty ridiculous. So we were joking in the sports group, wondering whether or not he could ever get that down this year to maybe like a 4 or 3 ERA. So I'll keep an eye on that and update people throughout the season just as a running joke. switching over to another team in that division with high expectations, the Seattle Mariners. Last year they came in and they had Robinson Cano, they had a Nelson Cruz, they traded for Trumbo, like like big bats, and they had one of the premier third basemen in the league, Kyle Singler. And I know a lot of people were extremely excited to see what they could bring. Of course, we all know what King Felix can do on the mound, and it wasn't anything like anybody expected, which is usually what you see in baseball. A lot of times when people build these teams that are hyped up to be super teams, they kind of fall on their face. But in the Mariners' case, they didn't just fall on their face; they got pushed down and stepped on in that division, and they had to watch as teams like the Rangers, who nobody counted in, pass them towards the end and almost got to the World Series. Which I know some people like almost they lost to the Blue Jays. Trust me, the Rangers were equipped last year to make a run. It's just unfortunate they ran across a hotter team at the time. But the Mariners got Robinson Cano healthy this year. That was a big storyline during the offseason. He had some, I think, some stomach ulcers or something wrong with his stomach that was a little health concern and agitating him, but he got it fixed. So at the start of the season this year, the big question was, how would he do? Would he start off hot? Will he start off cold? Nelson Cruz was one of the hottest bats last year. Exciting hitter, not necessarily an exciting fielder, but it's definitely exciting at the plate. So we all knew what to expect from him. Seager is still a beast and relatively young, so expectations were the same for him. But the real cog of that offense is definitely Robinson Cano, and he didn't disappoint. His first at bat hit a home run and kept it going after that. I don't think he had a bad series at all, and I think he followed up in the next series with some good at bats as well. So look for that team to really do some damage if they can keep Robinson Cano healthy and keep him swinging the bat. One thing I am concerned about the Mariners is the fact that King Felix is getting older, and he's got a lot of wear and tear on his arm. Even though he's been relatively healthy, you don't hear about him having Tommy John and stuff like that. But it's just the overall innings. His velocity's down to me about 2-3 miles an hour, and he got smacked around just a little bit towards the middle innings of his first start. So I'm gonna definitely keep an eye on him. He's a well-known name, but it might be time for them to look to transition him out of that ace position, which I know some people are like, what are you talking about? But we get these pitchers and we run them in the ground, and it's hard for them to ever find that old form as they get older when they've got 220 innings on their arm per season. And King Felix has been around a while, so we'll see if they maybe want to hand the ball off to somebody else in that rotation. They've got some young arms behind there, and at the back end of their rotation, I think they got a little bit of veteran presence, but they definitely going to need more out of that rotation and out of that bullpen to help the squad get over the hump. Staying in that division, the Texas Rangers started out pretty good. They battled in that first series with, ironically, the Mariners. And I expect them to have some classic games this year, as they're both really competitive and they know each other really well. And the Mariners don't back down when they come to Texas, and Texas doesn't back down when they go to Seattle. So home field doesn't necessarily feel like home field when you got a team that's confident that they can win because they've won there before. So definitely one of the premier matchups and rivalries to check out this season when they match up. I do love what the Rangers are doing as an organization. I think they've got a lot of young talent that they're sitting on in AAA that at any given moment they can call up and they'll make an instant impact. But what they have on the field right now, I think they're content with what they have. I'm content with what they have. I think the results are not as bad as everybody initially thought they would be. So you can hold guys like Gallo, in the AAA because you don't really need him right now. But let's say I know they got a couple injuries, mainly Josh Hamilton. He's still trying to rehab and come back. But when you have guys, that can just plug in and play, even though they're young, it makes your team very confident, especially when you go down the stretch to the playoffs and the postseason. You can call these guys up and add them to the roster to maybe pinch hit and stuff like that. So I like what they have in their rotation as well, and I wanna really crown them as the division winners, but it's a long season, and like I said, they've got some youth. They also got a veteran presence on that team as well, but the mixture can be good if everybody stays healthy, and that's usually the key to a successful run in any professional sport. Guys got to stay healthy, and then in baseball, when you're talking about baseball, the repetitions that you miss when you're out is just so crucial. You miss 30 games, and it's like some people have to actually reset and start over. They have to go through the process of double A, triple A, to fight their way back to get that batter's eye, or in the case of pitchers, to reclaim their control or reclaim their velocity. It's just a very delicate situation. But starting off in that first week, I like what I saw on the field for the Rangers. I'm really excited to see my boy Odor back. He's definitely a beast, and I know he's a free swinger, and he, like, the old folks say, he's never gonna get cheated at the plate. That's for sure. So I'm excited to see him back, and hopefully he can continue to make an impact as he's started out the season, bringing a little bit of extra energy to that team. Sliding over to the National League, well, we all know that the talk of baseball this offseason was the Cubs. The Cubs added Jason Hayward. They added, they let Dexter Fowler go, and then they got him back. They've got one of the better young first basemen in Anthony Rizzo. Jake Arrieta had one of the best years in baseball history for a pitcher. If it wasn't for Greinke, he probably would have been unanimous Cy Young winner. But he's a story. They still got Lester. They still got some of the best young infielders in the game. And just overall, it just seems like a perfect storm for the Cubs to finally win a World Series. So with that in mind, they've got a big game manager, Theo Epstein, or Epstein, however you want to pronounce it. Theo, he's well known for helping the Boston Red Sox break their curse, and he's got a championship attitude, and he knows what it takes to win, and he can build a team. And a lot of people feel like that this team that he's brought to Chicago is the team to beat in the National League. So the Cubs started out, let me think with the first series. The Cubs started out pretty hot. They scored a lot of runs early on. Arrieta came out and just pitched a gem. Like it looked like he never stopped pitching this whole season. Came out very strong, throwing about mid 90s. Cutter still moving, or curveball still moving. Everything looks great with him. So the Cubs have a legitimate ace to hit the ground running, and that's going to make them extremely dangerous come the entire season, actually. So I like what I saw from them. I like what I saw from their bats as well when they face right-handed pitching. Currently, let me check real quick. Currently, they are losing to the Cincinnati Reds. And, they got 2 runs. I was going to say they had a no-hitter going, or the Reds had a no-hitter going all the way to the 7th. But when you play a good team, and that's one of the things in baseball, usually when a good team plays a team that's just on fire, the better team usually wins. And I know that sounds really ridiculous, so let me put that in a better sense. When a talented team plays a team that's just playing above their pay grade, 9 times out of 10, the talented team still finds a way to win in the end. So in regards to that, the Kansas City Royals, I think, are a prime example of that. There are games like today where they played the Twins and they just look like crap, and you're like, this is the team that won the World Series, and they always seem to come back and win. They always seem to come back and win. Or that game actually was last night. They were down, I think, 3 runs, and tied it in the ninth, and won in like the 10th or 11th. And that's been a staple of the Kansas City Royals over the last 2 years. They're never out of a game, and so it's always interesting when they play. And I think the Cubs are starting to pick up that kind of personality as an organization. You can get up on them, but they've got the bats to come back, and they've got the bullpen, and they've got just the pitching in general that they can maintain whatever lead they have, or they can help their team get back into a game by not giving up any runs, and that makes them dangerous. So I can see why a lot of people like them. Again, that's another team that's hashtag youth movement. So look forward to watching them play all season. One of the other teams that started out hot, actually, is two teams. They started out pretty hot, and they actually met in their second series of the year, and that is the San Francisco Giants and the Los Angeles Dodgers. So the running joke in Major League Baseball, the Giants have won a World Series every even year since 2010. So 2010, 2012, 2014, San Francisco Giants were your World Series winners. So incoming 2016, you can imagine that they're extremely excited, and they also have a revamped team with a mean starting rotation with a lot of potential. They've got Madison Bumgarner still. They've got Johnny Cueto that they picked up from the Kansas City Royals. He just won a World Series. Jeff Samardzija, whom everybody still has high hopes that he can reclaim his old ace status like that he had with the Chicago Cubs. He went to the White Sox and didn't have necessarily a great year last year, but when he was with the Cubs, he was a monster. When he was with the Athletics, he was a monster. So everybody's on a wait-and-see basis with him. And then we have Matt Cain, former Cy Young winner, coming off of Tommy John. He had an okay year last year, basically okay as in he survived. He didn't get re-injured. But a lot of people want to see him do better, and he's the back end of that rotation. So if he does, in fact, do better, you are potentially talking about a rotation that has the number 5 guy as a former Cy Young winner. So that's a pretty deep rotation. Their bullpen is solid. They're younger, learning, transitioning, but their bats, the San Francisco Giants, actually have a hitting team this year. No excuse whatsoever that they don't score 3 to 4 runs a game, and they've got young bats. Brandon Belt is having a breakout year, or continuing his breakout as a baseball player. Brandon Crawford is right behind him. I love Joe Panic, their second baseman, and then Matt Duffy, which sounds like the funniest, most generic name ever. But Matt Duffy is their third baseman, and I thought he should have been at least nominated for Rookie of the Year last year in the National League, and he might have been nominated, but I don't think he got the credit that he deserved as a player. And he's come through and been a very solid bat for them. And I think he bats around the 5th or 6th spot, and he's tough. He's tough out there. And he's just as clutch, ironically, just as clutch as our buddy Buster Posey, who always seems to find a way to get a hit when you need a hit. So that team is really solid coming into an even year. And I actually picked them in some of my predictions. I picked them to win the National League and also the World Series. I think they've got the team to do it. Bruce Bochy's been there before. That's their manager. He knows exactly what to do when it's time. And they kind of have a San Antonio Spurs kind of vibe where they don't necessarily go too hard to keep up with the Dodgers. They do enough to win the division. When they play the Dodgers, they make sure they win, but they don't show their whole hand when they play the Dodgers. And they had a 4-game series this past weekend. I believe in 2 of those games they were down by at least 5 runs, and they came back and won every time, and without breaking a sweat. They don't change up their lineup for lefties or righties. They're not platooning guys. They're not. They don't have guys on pitch counts like everybody else talking about it. 100 pitches. I gotta get them out. If, for example, Dodgers had a rookie and he was at 91 pitches in the 7th inning with the chance to continue a no hitter, and the Dodgers took him out. If that was San Francisco, that kid would probably throw 130, 140 pitches. As long as you don't get a hit, Bruce Bochy's not touching you. And I think that's one of the things that makes the Giants so dangerous, is that they have a manager who is he personifies, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like that's everything that the Giants are as a team. Look at Hunter Pence. The guy can't really throw worth the crap. He's in right field. He's awkward at the plate, but he can hit. And they leave him I think they got him in the 4 spot right now. And they'll leave him there. As long as he keeps hitting, they'll leave him there. They don't touch anything in that lineup or anything with that rotation unless they have no other choice. And that's what keeps them consistent, and that's what probably keeps them coming back every other year as World Series champions or even potential World Series contenders. The Dodgers, on the other hand, had a lot of questions about them after they let Zach Greinke go. Yasiel Puig is still there. A lot of people were wondering if he was going to be the animated character that he has been in the past year. All those questions, again, were answered when they came out. Didn't allow a run against the San Diego Padres at all in 3 games. And then they got some really good quality starts from Scott Kazmir, who's their number 2 that they picked up, a lefty. He's got experience with the Athletics and also with the Houston Astros as well. So he's a good, solid veteran pitcher, and he did real well in both his starts actually this year, until the Giants got a hold of him a little bit in that last outing. But he did pretty well given the circumstances. And then we also had I don't want to mess up his name, but they got a Japanese pitcher. I want to say it's Maeda, Maeda, and he came out. Nobody knew what to expect. Obviously, there's always high hopes for prospects, especially when you get them from Japan, Cuba, South Korea. You get these guys over here, you just want them to be major league ready, and a lot of times it doesn't work out. But in this case, it did. He came out, he had a solid outing, and in his first big league at bat, he hit a home run as a pitcher. So definitely a lot of stuff to be happy about with him, and I look forward to keeping track of his growth. He's number 3 in that rotation. And I don't expect him to leave that spot unless somebody gets hurt. So a great outing by him as well. They've got some good bats still. Guys like Kiki Hernandez, who's definitely helping them, energizing them. He started out just a little bit slow, but he's one of those guys that if you walk him, he's going to steal a base. His hustle in the field and just in general at the plate is what makes him such a dangerous player. Even when he's slumping, he can still find a way to contribute on either side of the ball, whether it's offense or defense. So he's an exciting player, part of that youth movement that I talk about that is also helping his teams in more ways than one. And that's the thing about these new crop of players that we're not used to seeing in Major League Baseball in the last 4 or 5 years, is you're not used to seeing guys who might bat 200 but can get on base and still can run down ground balls, foul balls, can do the little things, maybe deking somebody on a ground ball to get an out, just intangibles that we're not used to seeing, like I said, in the last 4 or 5 years. I think a lot of these players coming up have those things, and that's what makes them special. So, again, I'm not going to talk your head off, guys. The show is going to be much better when I have my co-host, but I wanted to do this first show by myself to kind of introduce you guys to the full count and exactly what I'm hoping to accomplish with this show. And as the season goes on, storylines start to build. we'll get more in depth. If you guys want, daily fantasy information and stuff, I'll have that. Right now, I can tell you straight off. If Trevor Story is playing, you need to pick him up. He plays for the Colorado Rockies. He's a shortstop. He's probably worth like 12 grand right now on daily fantasy, but I promise you he's worth all 12 grand because he is killing the ball. And I've got pictures that I might post later on our sports group page, but basically showing what I think makes Trevor Story so special right now. A lot of guys are trying to challenge him middle of the plate and in, and I think it's because when he originally came in, he had kind of a long swing as a prospect. So the film that they probably see on him, because baseball players watch a little bit of film, and just the scouting report in general, I think talks about him having a long swing, but he's got a short swing. Actually, it's the complete opposite of what you would expect from him, and that's what he's done. And I think that's why he's getting by people, because they're pitching according to what their data says, but their data is a little off base because the guy's made adjustments as a rookie, for crying out loud. And it's paying dividends. I mean, he's got 7 home runs in 6 games. Broke the record by I think 3 or 4. So he's looking like a good prospect for them. And considering that they traded Tulo last year, and Jose Reyes got in trouble, and nobody knows if he's going to be able to come back and play, when you have a guy like Trevor Story with LeMahieu, Carlos Gonzalez, and then I think there's one more guy that they have in there that's potentially having a breakout year as well. The Rockies are just as potent offensively as they've been in the past. Unfortunately for them, they just don't have the pitching to complement that, and it's very difficult to pitch in Colorado as the ball travels very far in that high altitude. So if anything, they'll always be exciting to watch, because you just never know when somebody's going to hit a home run. A lot of the times when they play at home, those games are like 9-8 and 10-15, stuff like that. So definitely a rookie. Trevor Story is his name, a guy to keep an eye on. And I think he's got maybe 9 or 10 hits, and they've all been home runs except for obviously 2 or 3. So it'll be interesting to see if he can maintain that. Not necessarily that kind of streak, but just maintain hitting the ball and just being a big playmaker out there at the plate. Another big story that I'll talk more about as well in the next video with Malone is the emergence of Bryce Harper as a I don't want to call him a martyr, because he's not necessarily being criticized too much, but as a voice for the new generation of the baseball player. He's rocking a hat, make baseball fun again. He's coming up to the plate with J. Cole, Get Off My Dick, and he's backing all that up. He's backing it up with his play. He's put himself out there to be the voice, and people who know me know how I feel about Bryce Harper and the Nationals, because I'm obviously an Atlanta Braves fan. We're terrible this year, but either way, that's my team, and I'm all for it. I'm all for what Bryce is doing. I'm all for anybody, kind of shaking the foundation that has been the old baseball way. And don't get me wrong, I'm somewhat of a purist about some things. If you're gonna flip the bat and show up the pitcher, if he wants to, retaliate and hit you with the ball, I mean, I'm cool with that. I mean, we look at football. If somebody jukes you in open field and they score and they dance in your face, you more than likely want to try to get them back some way, somehow, obviously within the rules. So you want to lay a big hit on them the next time you see them out in the field. Baseball's pretty much the same way to me. The pitcher and batter in a one-on-one battle, flipping the bat is showing up the pitcher. And that's your right. If you get the better of the pitcher, if he challenges you with a 98 mile per hour fastball and you put it 430 feet out there, like, you have every right to flip the bat, do cartwheels if you want to down first baseline, just jog around and score. Do your thing. I'm cool with that. But in the same breath, when you come back up, if the pitcher wants to send a statement, he doesn't necessarily have to hit you. But if he wants to brush you back and let you know that he doesn't appreciate what you did. To me, I'm cool with that. That's all part of the game. But I know a lot of people have been extra critical about the way these new players carry themselves, and to be honest with you, it's just ridiculous. And we've been seeing that across the board in all sports. A lot of these older players just can't let go of how things were when they played. But it's a new day and age, and in the same breath that we criticize kids for being soft and stuff like that now, I want to support anybody that's trying to better the sport and make it more appealing to casual fans. So if flipping bats makes people happy, I know Jose Batista's bat flip last year broke a Twitter record for or a Vine record for Major League Baseball. It was like the most looped video of all time for Major League Baseball, and it was an epic moment, and it was an epic bat flip, and it's iconic right now. They even put it on the new video game, and those types of things are to me what baseball needs to keep it somewhat fresh in the minds of Americans in general, not necessarily just the youth, but everybody, and give them something to watch. The dramatics of the game, you need emotion. You need that. Every game has it. Even the NFL, even though they call it the No Fun League, the passion that the players have when they make a play and the dabbing and stuff like that is catchy. And that's what people want to see. So I think baseball should embrace that culture in some sense. It might make the game longer than what it already is, because God forbid if every time a pitcher threw a strike he dabbed. We don't need that. But if a guy strikes you out and he wants to pump his fist in his glove or something and do a Tiger Woods uppercut while he's walking off the mound, by all means, I have no problem with that. So I think people just need to let that go. But again, like I said, we'll get into that more when Malone gets on, and then also have a little rundown of key games that we watched during the week, and also key matchups to look forward to in the next week. So you guys, just if you made it to the end of this video, because it's kind of long, if you made it to the end of this video, by all means, leave some feedback. You can inbox me. Like I said, most of you guys know my name is Allen Sandidge on Facebook. You can tweet us at IBN on Twitter, and you can also I think contact us. We do have an Instagram, but I don't know if it's up and running yet, but we'll work on that. But either way, we're going to cover all aspects of social media soon. I know Ronnie has the RC reports. If you haven't checked them out, you can go to our website, iconicalisticallybombastic.com, and check that out. Check out all the RC reports he's done. He's covered a lot of football pre-draft talk. I know that's popular with people. I'm sure we're going to get some type of NBA recap going as well. And he's also doing interviews with some celebrities for shows like The Americans. So check that out as well. And again, next week, hopefully hopefully Saturday or Sunday morning, we'll get that going and get you guys a more polished show with a lot more information as the season goes on. Like I said, the show will expand along with the season. So I'm looking forward to feedback, hopefully positive feedback. If it's negative, that's fine too. I can handle it. I'm learning and growing along with the group and with the show as well. So by all means, watch more baseball. And if you don't necessarily have a way to watch baseball, I have the MLB app that I do love and enjoy. I'm going to hold it up for you guys to see. It's got all the games on here. Let's see. All the recaps as well, videos. You don't necessarily even have to watch the video of the game. I think you can get the radio broadcast for like $2.99, $3.99 a month, and I use that more than I use the actual video watching. I usually watch the highlights, but I just enjoy listening to the game on the radio, and you get a lot more information on the players and stuff through the radio broadcast as well. So I tend to go that route. But if you guys want to actually watch the game, I know a lot of people say it's boring to them, but if you want to watch the game, there are some exciting matchups, and I'll try to make sure I highlight those for you. Okay, so thank you guys for listening or watching. Again, I'm not done with the actual podcast, but this is something that we're trying to transition as well and grow the group.